Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at Wheel Talk Podcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, happy Wednesday.
Happy
Good.
Happy post birthday.
Yeah, my birthday was yesterday, and
Yeah.
you put together such a sweet video.
Did you cry? No.
Honestly, okay, so the thing is with these things that get put together, I'll usually if it's important enough, I'll typically glance at it. Like if it's an important email that really needs my attention, or the video. I'm not gonna watch that when I first wake up right next to Rachel because it's 4 minutes, right?
Right, it was 4 minutes.
So all I did was read the description, teared up a little bit, and then went on, got a shower, and then I was like, okay, let me. So yes, I did tear up a little bit just reading the description, which is just from you. So
Yeah. Well, I know that you're a sensitive human being, which not a lot of people are aware of, but yeah.
I've been getting more that way in the last couple years, I guess.
Maybe you're pregnant.
No. No. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's probably just, I don't know. It's also some of it just we talk weekly, right? So
Yeah.
some of this talking at length about some topic or just about things off the top of my head that could get emotional, or it could not, or it could just be some of the ones where we're talking about Q&As and we talk about old childhood things or family things or parental things. Those kind of are the ones that kind of get me choked up a little bit. So
Yeah. Well, I think that it's just natural to, as the older you get, the more emotional you become, just about memories and things. I think that's natural.
yeah.
Yeah.
So birthday yesterday, the video was great. It
What'd
was
you do?
I'm not.
So
Yeah, I was liking all the different people. I was like, ooh, who's next? Because I was like, there's 4 minutes here. Man, you could fit a lot of people in that time.
yeah.
So yeah, it was great to hear all of you all that contributed to that. Especially hearing a couple of you from the podcast that I actually hadn't seen before. So you see their face and you're like, who is this? And then I'm like, I hope they tell me who they are. And they did. So we got Aletha on there and we had Perched Pottery on there.
Yep, Corinne.
As well as a bunch of other people. So
Yeah.
those were the two kind of surprise ones that I wasn't expecting.
I reached out to some of the people that, and Liz Cohan too. You'd seen her face because of Instagram,
Yes.
but I reached out to a lot of the people, or a few of the people that asked the most questions. So,
Nice.
because it's kind of I feel like we have this podcast family,
Yeah.
So
Plus they said something about the cat and tiki drinks. So they know me. They know me a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, the birthday yesterday, I just kind of chilled a little bit. Rachel and I went out to dinner. I rarely eat steak, so I set a reservation. We went to a steakhouse.
Nice.
It's kind of like J. Alexander is what it's called. It's sort of like a mid-range steakhouse.
Nice.
So I was like, hey.
How do you like your steak?
Medium.
Okay.
And
Don't
then
judge them too harshly, you guys.
And we had fries and Cajun seasoning. We even got some wine.
Those fries look
Moscato.
Delicious.
Oh, they were good. They were like shoestring.
Yeah, shoestring fries.
So
They
good.
looked really good. Yeah.
It was
Did
tasty.
Rachel go to her party thing?
She did.
Yeah, okay.
So that was earlier in the day. That was she was there from 2 to 5, maybe.
Oh, that's
2 to
not bad.
6, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. And then
Yay.
over the weekend, we were in Louisville, and you came and visited. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to meet my nephews, which was I'm sure that was a fun time, and had the family there, my parents and Rachel's parents, and we had kind of a happy birthday for me over the weekend. So that was pretty fun.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm not a fan of children, but Ryan's nephews are actually really sweet, and they are not too annoying, and they're pretty rad. I like them.
Yeah.
They're good on my book.
Yeah. Was that overwhelming being around?
No.
Because that was so many. I'm just talking about in general, being around that many people over a period of time.
Oh, at one point, I don't know if you noticed, but at one point I escaped. I
mean,
like,
you did, yeah. I was like, yeah, give her some time.
Yeah. At one point, like after dinner, I was like, well, first of all, I was so freaking full, and then your mom was like, here, have an ice cream cake, and I was like, okay. I was like, okay.
Yes, they're not shy about giving you food.
No.
They're very giving with the food and the can I get you a drink? Can I get you something? Do you want a shot?
Yeah. The last time I went to Ryan's mom's house, they fucked me up so bad. They like shot like 15, I swear it was like 15 shots of different alcohol. And
what?
Then no,
it was not 15.
It was so
You're exaggerating.
Much.
It was like 4.
It was
maybe.
not. I do not get drunk off of 4 shots of alcohol, Ryan. I am way more weight than you are. And
and I did not partake in the shot that you all had of the
I had eaten dinner, so it had to have been at least
shot.
7 shots. It had to have been. Like, in college, I had 14 shots of whiskey, and I remember the whole thing. At your house, I barely remember drinking the pickle juice.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, moving on.
So I just learned, you just got to learn to say no. When my mom asks if you want something, you just got to say no. Just commit to it.
Just no.
That's like, she'll be like, do you want a shot? Do you want to join? I'm like, no, I don't.
No. I love your parents. You're 30, by the way. Everybody's probably wondering how old
30.
he is. He is 30. Dirty 30.
Never
cool.
heard dirty 30 until I saw that in a message or a comment or something.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So how was your day and weekend and last couple days?
Good. Good. My dinner tonight was great.
Yeah, you were finishing it up before we started.
I feel like I might have eaten it too fast. For all these you wondering, because I know you want to know, I had chili dog tater tots. So I had chili with a hot dog and cheese and tater tots, and it was great. And
on a bed of tater tots?
On a bed of tater tots.
Yeah.
And I don't normally eat that way. I don't normally eat like really bad for you food, but here we are. Anyway, it's been good the last couple days, and I feel like nothing really exciting has happened except for going to your mom's house. Yeah, just work. Yeah. Oh,
were you in there late on Sunday when you got back?
Yeah, I mean, I probably left at like 8. I got back at about 3 and then threw about 100. Oh, I know what I can say. I threw about 100 crumbles. And so Joe from Old Forge Creations in England, he traditionally throws with a laser level that's like a square, like a cross-section laser level. And I... I've been using the pointer gauge for a while, and it's good, but I've been frustrated for a while because it's right in the way, it's too tall, and the way that I have to put my pieces up on boards, it just gets in the way, and then I always knock it, and then when you're making larger stuff, it's super not accurate because it's farther away from you, so you don't know, and so I finally buckled down and bought this $30 cross level, and it's fucking amazing. It's so great. Seriously.
Because you were having trouble figuring out where to place it in relation to your body. Yeah. So that you weren't blocking it, but you also could get a good reading and
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I figured out that putting it at 2 o'clock is best. Yeah, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock is probably best in front of you on the wheel. And me and Rebecca figured out a spot where we could put it on a tripod a little bit off from my wheel and then still have my board and still have my water bucket so it doesn't get blocked. And it's been...
Because it seems like your water bucket would block that at 2 o'clock.
Right. So but I have a pretty large table, so it worked out. But yeah, it's been good. and things have been a lot more accurate, and it's been quite helpful. And the fact that I can lift up my bats without worrying about dinging it, like dinging the edge of the rim on the pointer, is really nice. So,
sweet.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I did was I had a restock today, and I packed up 10 boxes, I think. So that was nice. Hopefully I get some more.
Good.
I'm not to the sell it out phase, but
not everybody's at the sell it out
getting
phase.
better. Some people perceive that you're at a certain level of like followers and stuff, that they're just like, you're just killing it. But it's not like realistic that you can expect that bar. And there's people that have like 1,000 followers that sell it every time. But that's also could be the only way that they sell is online. So
yeah, exactly. And like, you have a different product than a lot of people, you know.
I have basic bitch pots.
Yeah, you do, and it's fine that's the way it is, and that's the way it is, and like, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny when your mom was like, "Why weren't you two on the imposter show?" And I was like, "'Cause our pottery's boring. Like, it's fine."
Yeah, the imposter cup show, I think.
Yeah, that Isaac put on. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Pretty sweet. Yeah. I don't think there was anything else. Oh, I will tell you this. This year, because we talked about your taxes last week, I just got my numbers back from my accountant. I turned in my taxes way, way long ago, but they're very busy. So they just got them to me. And I made more during COVID because of unemployment than I've ever made in like the last 6 years. And so I owe a bunch of money.
So wait, are you talking about actual making money, or the money that the government gave you?
The money that the government gave me from unemployment, because I wasn't making any. So what happened?
And that's separate from your loan, right? That you paid back when you closed it.
Right. Yeah, that's different.
Okay.
So what happened was Washington. This was a really huge point of morality for me, like a moral. I think we talked about it when it happened, like a moral conundrum for me, because Washington and everybody actually provided unemployment to people that their businesses were impacted. And I was like, I'm doing fine. It's fine. I have enough savings, to get through this. And all of my friends were like, no, Becca, you need to do this. Like, you need to cash in on unemployment. And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, was your business impacted? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess. Well, And they're
because
like,
you
no.
couldn't have classes. That was probably the main impact, right?
I couldn't have classes. My retail store closed. Like, I couldn't have
go to
paint your own
Leavenworth.
pottery. Like, I was still selling online, but not really. And at that, it just got to this point. And so anyway, I ended up making a lot of money from unemployment, a lot more than I thought was ever even possible. Like, I feel like I was one of those people that the conservatives are like, oh, you don't need unemployment. But like, I made more money on unemployment than I've made in the last 6 years over, like, in a month. But the thing about it is that the amount of money that I was making, nobody normally would be able to live off of that. Just because I live so cheaply, I was making like $238 a week. And I was like, man, I'm doing great. I'm like,
so it's not necessarily a knock on the government giving you too much money. It was, you live way below your means and you don't make like much money at all. So the low bar of the unemployment was like, it was way more for you.
Yeah, like at the beginning, they were giving like $600 extra on top of the 238, and that was like, I was like not comfortable with that. I was like, this is so much money, I can't handle this. Like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And because that's
That's like, three. I mean, that's 3 times what you normally would have. So,
I would normally live off of maybe $1,000 a month of profit, and then having $800 a week. I was like, whoa, and
yeah.
And I ended up, and it was just like a lot. And then, what the thing about it is that I intentionally did this. This whole story comes down to this. I intentionally did not take taxes out of my unemployment because I knew that I was going to have expenses from business and it would all kind of converge into the middle. And I didn't want the taxes taken from the unemployment to affect, like, I wanted to make sure that my expenses and everything. So anyway,
Could you tell them when you were getting it that, like, hey, you want the taxes taken out before?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. You can, like, tell them and say, hey, we're, don't take the taxes out, or do take the taxes out. And most people take the taxes out. I prefer to mess up on my taxes versus the IRS messing up on my taxes. So that's kind of what I chose to do. So it wasn't a surprise that I owe a lot of money this year, but I also, like, it's just like the most money I've made in, 8 years.
That's a hard conundrum because you were affected.
And I just want to tell people that the most money I've made in 8 years was $28,000.
Are you talking about profit or just sale?
Profit.
I made more than that last year.
I know.
But I don't pay myself for anything, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, the most, like, money that I've made, profit that's taxable has been.
Yeah.
I've kept very clean, even books all the way through intentionally, as I've said many times on this podcast. Yeah. But the fact that, $28,000, guys.
I owe a bunch.
One time, this accountant lady, this is another side note, this accountant lady came and looked at my books, and, like, my personal expenses in my books was $20,000 for an entire year that I, like, pulled out as cash, like to pay myself with was $20,000. And she looked at me, she's like, how the hell do you live off of $20,000? And I was like, I don't know.
Well, you trade a bunch. You were trading a bunch and bartering a bunch with your, like, trading pots for food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Small town and...
Yeah. Anyway, that's my life story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, gosh.
So...
All right. Before we get into the stuff, we wanted to mention reviews. We looked at our reviews. We look at our reviews like every couple of weeks or something. Or at least I do. I don't know about you. We haven't had a new one that I see. Maybe it's outside the U.S. and I can't see it. But we haven't got a new one since January 6th. So
that's unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
Anyway.
All right. So if you're willing to write a review on whatever platform of your choosing, screenshot it. What do we want them to send it to us on Instagram?
Yeah, send it to us on Instagram or email or whatever, and include your address.
And we will mail you a
sticker.
A random sticker. So Becca did a bunch of sketches of stickers and graphics for stickers last year. There were a random assortment. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a Wheel Talk sticker. It could be a Wheel Talk sticker. It could be 2 stickers. But, yeah. Let us know when you write one. Screenshot it. Send it to us. We will appreciate it. We will read it. And we'll send you a sticker.
Yeah, it'll be a big sticker, not a small sticker, by the way. Like one of the ones that is like a pottery sticker. And it won't be a lame one either. But I don't think any of them are lame. Like, I personally don't understand why nobody has gotten the water bucket sticker. That's my favorite one. I have it on my computer. Like, it's so 90s classic. I don't get it. Anyway. Yeah. So anyway, we'll send you a sticker. It could be a Wheel Talk sticker or a regular sticker. And if you've already done a review, do it again. Or have your friend do it and then screenshot theirs and get the sticker. But don't tell them about the sticker and just take it for yourself. We're fine with that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And don't just screenshot a random review that's already out there.
We know. We've read them all.
This is Wednesday, April 21st. We're only looking for reviews after that.
We're getting all particular. This is Wednesday, April 21st,
Don't try to trick us,
2021.
okay?
Hey, it's 4/21/21.
It is. All right, onward. Listener question?
Listener question. Okay, the listener question I chose is, good morning. It's actually evening, but it will be morning when you're listening to this, maybe. So I'm doing some glazing, and recently I've been doing a liner glazes on my things. Any advice on stopping the air bubble pop of glaze when you're dipping? I've tried going slow, angled slightly, but I still get that annoying pop of glaze in my liner. Passionate Arts and Crafts.
So I assume they're just talking about when they dip the outside, they get a little bit bubbled into the inside.
Right. So, okay. So for anybody not understanding what we're talking about, a liner glaze is when you put a, sorry, I had to burp. Anytime you put a lighter color or whatever color glaze on the inside, and then you're putting a different color glaze on the outside. So,
Yeah.
in my okay, how would you
First off, what would you recommend the order of operations here when they're doing a liner glaze and outside glaze? Typically, I do inside first and then
That's
dip the
how I
outside.
do it too. I've heard from like fancy people that you should always do the outside first. I don't understand that. I think it's because if you do the inside, then the moisture is moving to the outside, and you're not going to soak up
The
as
glaze
much
isn't going to be as
glazes
thick on the outside.
Yeah.
I typically do it based on like which color, because I usually use 2 different colors. I'm not doing the same color inside and outside completely, so there's certain colors that look better when they're underneath other colors, so that's usually how I dictate it. But in general, inside first, outside second for me.
Me too. So we're going to go with that premise. Inside first, outside second. Now, here's the thing. There's questions on how you're doing the rim. So on your liner glaze, are you overlapping just a smidge on the rim on the outside? Because if that's happening, what I would recommend is instead of dipping it down with holding the bottom of the cup, you should be putting your hand on the inside of the cup and dipping it down to the rim.
On the outside. So you're not actually capturing anything on the inside because it's bottom down.
Right. So no air is captured. Now, I will say, though,
that's a good idea.
With the bubble pop, the reason it's popping is because your hand is moving slightly and you've caught air inside. So, same situation when you're doing you're popping up glazes and trying to get the glaze on the inside. But yeah, that's why it's popping, is because your hand is moving just a smidge. You're maybe not intentionally knowing that it's happening, but there's an angle.
Is it as you're dipping in, and then it's just agitated when you get it down to the?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. Like if you do it with a cup of water, a clear cup, and some water, and push it down and watch what's happening. Like the pressure, and if you change and move your hand ever so slightly, air is going to get trapped in there. Like the air's trying to release, Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, so try to keep it as parallel to the water line as possible, and dip straight down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that because even the slightest angle, the air that's already under there is escaping, so it's like displacing glaze inside as you.
Yeah, but
the slightest movement.
I think that I would almost always recommend doing it the other way, putting your hand on the inside, scooting out your fingers so you're holding it, and then going down up to the rim. And then if you have to cover anything, then you can, and that's great too, because then you can just wipe off the bottom, set it on a table, and then you can go back if you're once they're dry, and if you do need to get the rim just a little bit, then you can just pop the rim just a tiny bit, and then you're not dealing with that air disbursement.
Just dip that little bit of the rim.
Yeah. What do you think?
I've tried the hand inside. The only negative is if you've already glazed the inside, it's a little bit awkward with the glaze already on the inside. If I do the hand on the inside, I would rather do the outside first because it's bisqued and it's like nicer.
You can't do that because then when you pour it out, if you pour it out,
It's gonna
and you
dribble. I
mess up,
get
it's
it.
gonna drip. You just have to wait till it's dry, and don't wear rings.
Yeah. I like to use the blue thin gloves too,
Yeah.
just because it's just so much easier to clean your hands off, and I don't like the chalky texture of the glaze on my hands and stuff, especially after a lot of glazing. And
I know it does.
if
It
it's
dries your hands out so much.
yeah, if it's a simple glaze job, I will not wax the bottom, and I do the whole dipping upside down thing.
Yeah.
So try to be conscious of how you're dipping it. Keep it as parallel to the thing as possible. And don't, like, move it around. Like, there's no reason to move it around, because if you dip it straight down, it's going to get an even coating, and then just pull it out.
Yeah, you shouldn't be moving around your pieces in your glazes anyway. This could be a myth that maybe I don't understand, but it makes sense to me in physics.
Unless you're trying to do that, like, popping the glaze, where you're doing the outside and moving it around and then, like, popping it inside. Like,
Yeah.
I still haven't figured that out exactly, but...
That's funny. I was doing that with some glasses that I'm making for somebody, and the girls were glazing today at work, like yesterday. And they're like, "How do you like?" They're like, "I still can't figure out how to do that." And I was like, "Well, we'll have a tutorial sometime soon."
Yeah.
But yeah, you shouldn't be moving around your pieces in the glaze anyway. If you want the particles to stick to the piece, it's absorbing the glaze regardless. Moving the piece around in the glaze is not going to attach more glaze particle to your piece. Actually sticking it in and holding it there will let them kind of like scoot to your piece even a little bit more. That's what I was told and what I believe. But
Yep.
cool.
All right, do we want to try our new segment? We're already at 26 minutes. Do we try that today?
Yeah, because we've already talked about pottery. It's fine.
All right, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
So, we're trying out this new segment. We'll see how it goes. We've got a few on the list here, and the segment came up because I was just thinking out loud. Not really thinking out loud because I was talking to myself, but we were interviewing somebody new, and I kind of wanted to put them on their heels and say, we do this segment on the podcast called What Would You Do If? In the scenario to see, like, do they actually listen to the podcast or do they not? And I just thought of it, and that's kind of how it came up. So the segment is, what would you do if some scenario happened? So these will be entertaining scenarios, holy shit scenarios, like everyday things that are teaching moments that you may have encountered, and it may be like a mistake and you're trying to troubleshoot, or it could just be fun and entertaining for us to talk about. So, and feel free to send those to us because they're definitely going to be fun to talk about. So,
Yeah.
do you want to pick one?
Yeah, sure. And also I'm adding check marks next to these so we can check off which ones we've done.
Okay.
That way we don't repeat them.
Yeah. Well, we'll do them like the listener questions, and I'll put the episode number so we know to put them in the notes. So
yeah, but
people
can
know
we
which
also
ones.
just check them off too?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
All right. Which one do you want to start with?
Okay, what would you do if... Actually, I'm going to do the top one because I always wonder this. Like, always. What would you do if your lid collapsed into the kiln during a firing? We'll preface this at 2,000 degrees.
Okay, so this is a glaze firing.
This is a glaze firing.
Your kiln is probably in your house. If it's like my kiln. First I'm going to like yell out, holy shit. Hopefully I'm there when it happens and hear a big crash or something to signal that something is happening. I would... well, first off, I don't have an extinguisher right next to my kiln. I probably should. But I would get the one under the sink and have that nearby. I wouldn't think anything would be on fire, but it would be very fucking hot.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't have any ceramic blanket. I think I would turn the kiln off, obviously. See if I can unplug it out of the wall. And I don't have a shelf big enough to cover it. I would probably put... I don't know. I was thinking about, like, do I put... Actually, a good option might be putting some kiln posts on the edge of the kiln lid to, like, elevate and try to put some, like, extra shelves that I have, like, on top of it that are kiln shelves to kind of absorb some of the heat so it doesn't disperse into the room. That's kind of my thought. I don't know that I would like fire extinguisher this thing because I don't know that that's really going to cool it down much when it's already 2,000 degrees. Probably
I'm really enjoying this process.
Open the doors to my basement kiln room so that it's like not getting so hot in this room and the air can cool down. I would definitely
get the fuck out, Ryan.
The vent on. I don't know. I mean, my kiln is clear, so there's nothing vertically above it. I mean, I would probably need to take the fan off the ceiling right above it. I don't know. I mean, I would definitely probably call the fire department. I don't know. What would you do?
Okay.
What situation is your kiln in? Are you at your old studio and this happens?
We'll pretend I'm at the old oh, that sucks. Yeah, because it's two different scenarios. If
Mine is like in my home.
If
in my
I was
basement.
in my own house, you bet your bottom dollar I'd just leave. I would leave. I would potentially grab my social security card on the way out, and I'd probably walk away.
Wait, you wouldn't try to do anything to try to save your home?
No, I want that fucker to burn down so I can get the
But is it...
Given
that you are insured for really the stuff that you're...
What?
That you're... Given that you're insured for having a business in your home and all this stuff.
Yeah. No.
But isn't it gonna... Think about it, like, isn't it gonna be contained within that, like, kiln, you know?
Yeah, I think that this is a good question to ask. I don't really know the answer, but I think that it's good to talk about and to, like, to be prepared for. Like, I don't really know the answer per se, but I think that I would probably, if a kiln lid collapsed, I would most likely, not an oval, we're not going with the oval kiln for now, but if it was like my, 1027, I'd probably get as many shelves as I could find and put them on top just super quickly and just let it be. Like, you can't do anything. Obviously unplug it, like, or flip the breakers. Flip all the breakers.
Breaker, that's a good, because getting to the plug behind a kiln that's exposed, like, that's probably going to be tough.
Yeah. Obviously unplug it, and then I might... Yeah, I mean, that's
would you,
tough.
Would it benefit to, like, spray the shelves once they're up there with, like, a fire extinguisher to, like, super cool them quickly? Or try to?
No, I mean, obviously you've unplugged it at this point, so there's no, like... But you don't want to, like...
go higher.
You don't want to, like, combust anything, right? So people are probably yelling at us right now. So don't review us on this part.
I don't know, would you call the fire department?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I'd call the fire department.
Okay.
Yeah, but...
I mean, the thing is with the kiln, you're not going to see flames, given that it's an electric kiln, right? It's just going to be radiant heat. Right, it's an electric kiln.
I mean, the idea of it's probably going to cool down real quick, Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like fire is shooting out of a kiln,
Right. It's just radiant heat that's inside the thing. It's just radiant heat.
And the lid, if the lid collapses down into the kiln, it's already it's already, like, covering it. It's not, like, disintegrating into the kiln, it's not burning, it's like, so it's already tamping down a lot of that heat anyway.
It'd be different if your bottom collapsed in the kiln.
If your bottom collapsed out of the kiln, I'd fucking leave. I'd be like...
that's where you try to do the shelves around the edge of the bottom to contain it, but there's probably more.
But this is also another reason why it's so important to make sure that whatever's around your kiln is fire retardant, that's the right word, right? Fire retardant?
Mm-hmm. Resistant.
Yeah. Make sure cement's under it, and cement's around it, or hardy backer is around it, because it's fire-ish proof. But yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
I think the extra kiln
I always think about that, and I never really have... What?
I think the extra kiln shelves could be beneficial in that scenario to contain it a little bit more.
Potentially.
If you could get them up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like,
I don't know.
They would probably explode because of the quick introduction to heat.
What would explode?
The kiln
The
shelves.
kiln shelf? Oh.
Also, it's
Would you let it
so
get down?
unbelievably not likely to happen. Let's talk about that.
That's why we're doing this. Because,
Right.
I mean, this question is obviously mostly for entertainment. Like, I don't think we can expect people to come into this scenario, but it could happen.
It could happen, but
treat
like,
your kiln lid with grace, so that you don't, like, make sure your things are tightened, so your metal ring is like tight on there and it's not loosey goosey, and you're not opening your kiln at 600 degrees and letting that kiln lid get degraded. And
yeah. That's why I'm excited about like having a cone art kiln. They have metal on the top of their kilns.
mm-hmm.
So if that did happen, at least there'd be something there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. That was a fun moment. And I feel like also like part of me is like I'd find like some sort of a pizza.
Oh my god. I mean, I would do my best to clear everything away from it that I could. Like, I do have some shelves that are within like a foot of the kiln, but
yours would be fucked. And also, I'm surprised you didn't say like, I tell my wife to get the fuck out. Like,
well, I don't know when it's happening. I assume it's happening in the middle of the night or something. Like,
the likelihood of your kiln falling in before your electrical catches on fire is completely. The electrical catching on fire is so much higher risk. That's why you should always have a licensed electrician doing your kilns, by the way, like doing the plugs and everything like that. It is. I have literally almost lit my house on fire because of it. So, well, actually, a plug hit the cord hit the kiln and it melted and it short wired and then blew up the box that it was connected to. So there was two methods of like what saved us, but it tripped.
Not having your cord too long is a benefit too, because I've had a cord that we installed new, but you don't want it too long, and we actually like anchored it to the wall so that it didn't have a lot of slack.
Yeah. But if you can hardwire the kiln into the wall, that's better. That's the best bet you can have.
I mean, you're taking out one variable, you're taking out the plug variable.
Yeah, and the plug variable is usually what's the problem. But,
yeah, because you see those where it's like charred and melted on one of the prongs.
Yep, I've had one that was charred and melted, and it was scary. And then I've had one that almost blew up, and then it melted to the electronic controller, because I had like an external electronic controller. So it fused itself to the electronic controller, and then it tripped the breaker. And I was asleep, and my roommate got home, and he was like, Becca, the kiln, like the power's off. And I was like, oh, can you turn it on? And can you just turn on the kiln and then plug it back in? And he turned on the breaker and turned on the kiln again, and then it tripped it again. And then I went down, and then we just like didn't even think about it. It was like 2 a.m, and then the next day I go out and I see that the wire is completely melted to the side of the kiln. It was on my front porch though. Thank God.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway,
don't take that as a scare tactic to like never get a kiln or never have your own kiln at home. Just
no, but be
do
cautious.
it smart and be cautious. Get the electrician.
Yeah, and I'm not like, get a camera on it. Get like, if you can, put a camera on your kilns and your plugs, and and
fire it when you can look at it. Check
fire
on
it when you that's important. Okay, now that we've wasted 40 minutes, holy shit. What are we talking about today?
All right, so we got 2 questions through Instagram, and they kind of tied in together. We got them at different points of time, but the first one came from Liz Cohen. Thanks, Liz. It says, how do you know when it's time to hire someone to help with the grunt work like recycling and wedging clay, mixing glazes, cleaning, etc.? And where would you suggest looking for someone to hire? I've thought about going to different universities and looking for students that are getting a degree in this field. Lastly, how do you suggest paying them so it's all legal and you're covered in case they get injured or whatever while on the clock? That's Liz's. And then the second one that's related from Ice and Dust, is talk to me about hiring a studio tech, intern, assistant. What's the business side of that look like, and what tips do you have for making the partnership successful? Are there any insurance considerations for doing this within a residence? So, lots to unpack there.
But we're going to do it in less than an hour and 20 minutes because we're not going over 2 hours today.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with how do you know when it's time?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I do this part-time, so my time is very valuable with how much I have to actually use on ceramics. So, I've got 6 to 12 every night or whatever during the week, and I was like, I don't want to spend time wedging clay and weighing clay, and is it worth it for me to pay somebody to do that at like an amount of money that's not killing me to pay? So for me, the clay prep was the priority one, because I still want to throw, like I love throwing, so throwing in quantity is a must-have for me. And prepping clay was the easiest, made sense to get somebody to help with.
Oh my God. When people prep clay, it's like magic. It's fucking magic. It's magic.
I've probably gone overboard now, but I probably have 5-gallon buckets per clay body filled with balls of clay. So I probably have 200, each clay cat litter bucket that I have is 5 gallons, and it holds 50 pounds of clay per bucket. So that's 250 pounds per clay body. So I have 500 pounds of clay ready to go.
Yeah.
At all times almost.
Yeah. I don't think that people who have never hired an assistant or hired somebody to do something for you, like in the clay world, understand how much time is spent prepping clay. Or maybe they do understand it. But,
or just the body part of it. Like,
yeah.
Could you imagine weighing out stuff for a 5-gallon bucket and then feeling like you want to throw after that?
I can, because I've done it and I did it for years. But like, it's just, because I used to weigh out 2 bags of clay, which fits in a 5-gallon bucket, and throw them. And I would do 2 5-gallon buckets a session.
So that's like 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You prepped and you threw it all.
But I don't wedge, so it would be cut and weigh, and that's it. But but yeah, I think that when you know it's time, I think that it's time when you start making money. That's it. Like it's not when it's like, it's not like, oh, I think I'm doing a ton. Like maybe if you're
is there a scale to it though? Like you want to be moving up and progressing and growing.
Yeah. But
like you want to make it a business, obviously. It's not like I'm making it for fun and it's a hobby.
Right.
It's more like you have plans of what you're going to make.
Yeah, if it's a profitable hobby or a business, then and you can spend the money, like, I've literally, especially weighing out clay, I've paid my friends' kids to do it. Like, I've dropped off 50 pounds of clay, given it to them.
That's a great idea.
With a bucket, and they've done it. And it's just like, that's like something that you don't need to, that's not, I think that any accountant would agree with me, potentially, I don't know, but like, that's like a donation to those kids, like, that's like babysitter money, that's a 12-year-old can weigh out clay. You know,
if all you got to do is drop off buckets, empty buckets and clay and a wire tool, and a scale. Like, they can do that, and that plus that gives them a little like hobby, like time away to like do something that's monotonous. Maybe they get 2 hours to like listen to a podcast, and they enjoy that time to just do this thing.
If you do it that way, make sure you're pricing per bucket, because especially with kids, I think, well, okay, I don't know, I don't have children, but it's important to price per bucket for that, because you don't know how fast or how slow they're going to go. So, and if you're dropping it off, it's not on your time. So just say, hey, $10 per bucket or whatever, don't make it like super cheap, but like, $10 per bucket. That way they can do it as slow or as fast as they want.
I don't think that's a bad rule of thumb generally. Like, I never
either.
thought of it that way, but if it's going to be 50 pounds in a bucket, like,
Yeah.
How much time do you think is realistic to do that?
Right. It's like
And what's
piece
an
rate,
hourly wage that makes sense?
Yeah, because like, like you said, like they could do it over 2 hours listening to a podcast or watching a TV show and it doesn't bother them at all. But I don't want to pay somebody for 2 hours that could take them 20 minutes. Like, that's not
Right.
something that I want to do. So anyway, I think that's a really good way to like step into it. And it's like not having an assistant, but also like they're doing a super important part of the process that is super annoying anyway, you know?
Plus, they can do it at their home, and that takes care of some of your insurance concerns of them being at your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
For that part of it.
And anybody can weigh out clay. Almost anybody. What more?
What else? What about the other parts of it that some of it like cleaning or?
Well, tell us what you do. Tell us how, like.
So the tasks that I've got to at this point that I have assistants do for me are clay prep, already mentioned that, glaze mixing, which could be either taking a commercial glaze that's in dry form and they have to add it to water and then put it through a sieve twice, or they mix it from dry materials, like raw materials that I have, put it together and do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Into 5 gallons. And then I have had them mop before, which is just mopping at the end of the day. I will have them add underglaze or slip to my mugs that are going to get carved. And I think that's pretty much it. That's kind of the extent of what I have them help with. I don't usually have them doing anything with the kilns because I'm very specific with how many pieces I want to fit into a kiln. No, like not having somebody else break the pieces at greenware because that's the most fragile part. They are at that state. So if that something happens there, I want that to be on me, not on them.
No, I'm totally with you on that. It's hard to give kiln, like it's hard to give up the kiln part.
Oh yeah,
because
you have ways of doing it and you know how to fire it, you know how much can fit in where. And the other thing I do, I've had them glaze for me too, so glaze, and lastly wax. I've had them wax as well.
Yeah, I think it's different. Well, and I was thinking about, and all of your assistants are in age range what to what?
20s? I've had 3 in the past, and they're mid-20s.
Mid-20s? Okay. I've always had assistants.
Like out of college age.
I've always had employees that were in high school. Oh, except for Seb, who was 20-something. And it's different because you are yourself in your house, and I was a business, so people would come to me. And also I have a lot of friends that have teenage kids. So, so I've gotten kids that had jobs from classes, and then other people came to me and asked. So, that's a little bit different. I've always had high schoolers to college.
Because the money for them is just spending money. It's not paying rent money.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's not like, is it worth it for me to come over there money?
Yeah. And it was like, a few of them, it was their first job. And it was a good first job, and they also watched the shop when I was gone, when I was in Leavenworth and stuff like that. So I had actual employees, and I needed employees for specific things, so it's a little bit different. But we talked about this weekend. So I think that, going back to that, I'm sorry, I'm so ADD today. Where did you find your assistants?
So my first one was my alma mater, NKU, that's 5 minutes up the street. They have a Facebook group that I'm a part of. Usually they'll kind of have their students that are some alumni that were in the ceramics program. So I actually posted on their Facebook group and said, hey, I'm local, I'm in Southgate. I'm looking for an assistant to help me out with things like clay prep and glaze and stuff like that. And then somebody reached out through there, and that's how I got Amy to start helping me. And she was actually just finishing up her last year of college. So it was like a good transitional period, her to get a little bit extra money as well as have something kind of in the field because she was graduating with ceramics, and that's how I got her. And then the other two, after Amy moved on to another job, one of the recommendations came from Amy, and then the other came from a recommendation from another friend that's a potter locally that I think she actually just got out of college too. So both of the newer ones got out of college, and they were kind of referrals, I guess.
Yeah.
And the one just moved on to another job at a production studio that she's working at full time now. So
yeah, I think that's good. Like, yeah, it's good to reach out to that. I'm sure you could reach out to your local clay supplier and be like, hey, I'm looking for an assistant in clay. Is there anybody that you would recommend, like a class base, or
like a student?
A student or something like that, or any teachers that you know of that could help me out, And it really, you have to decide whether you want like a high schooler or somebody a little bit older to help you out. And
yeah, I think the age range that I had was pretty good because they're kind of just getting into the job field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reliability of the hours is kind of low, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
but I could just as easily have somebody that's older, that's retired, or probably not retired because they might not want to do all the physical stuff, heavy physical stuff, but
yeah,
probably find somebody that has spare time.
Yeah. I've always had really good luck with high schoolers. I feel like I employ kind of like the misfit toy crowd. Like, I don't know why, but me and my friend Bridget always have like all of our employees were very just eclectic and like a safe haven place. So I look for more, I've always, I don't know. I'm not as much about the work ethic as I am about how can I help this individual that is young and wants to have a job and wants to learn a few things. I'm more on the teaching end of the employmentness.
Yeah.
But
you're trying to give them like a good job experience.
Yeah,
that's not super stressful,
And also, like, I've employed a lot of, like, people that were trans and people that are gay and people, like, kids that have never had jobs before. And, like, in a small town, like the town that I was in, that's not, like, super, super accepted. And to have a place where they can come and they can be themselves and they can be artistic and, like, and also, just be comfortable being themselves is really important for me. So that's kind of what I've focused on. Not as much like like what can they do for me? I'm like, I'll approach that later. I find their strengths and then I go towards that. But yeah. It doesn't always work, but most of the time it turns out fine.
Yeah, I think it definitely is interesting because when I had the two when Amy left and I had the options for the two assistants that were referred, I met with them and I was like, what do I want to do here? Because I didn't really want to like only hire one because for one, I kind of felt bad, like feeling like I had to deny somebody a job when I had two options that were totally viable and totally good. Like I think they could both do it. So I was kind of like figuring out what would work, and I offered both of them a job. And then they both equally got like, half of the hour. So it kind of worked out. And then, one of them could work consistently on Mondays for 2 hours and like 2 hours was their cap. But the other could work longer and 4 hours or whatever. And like it worked out. And I just had to communicate. Communication's the main thing. Having somebody that you can communicate with, you can text with, and like within the week or something and say, hey, I need you this week. What day do you prefer? And like leave it up to them, and they're going to respond. They're going to show up on time. They're going to be, there when they're there and not like distracted and be able to take direction. And, some of that you don't really know until they get going.
Yeah.
But you do figure out skill sets of, you get them to try something and see how they do at it, see how long it takes them. And and then you throw something else at them and see how they do with that. So,
Yeah.
there were definitely tasks that I would have one do over the other, and certain things that, I preferred one or the other to do just because of like the attention to detail or just the speed or
Right.
like, what they like to do.
Yeah, I think that kind of is a good segue into what we were talking about this weekend, and in the sense of, I personally think it's really important I do this with my students, and I also do this with employees, is ask what their intention of the job is or what their intention of the class is. Like, what are you hoping to get out of this? What's like, are you here for money or are you here to learn? Like, what's the, are you here for the nitty gritty or are you here for the surface level education? And so, I've like Seb, when he worked for me, so they were very focused on like education and learning about glazing and learning about how to pug clay, like actually how to pug clay and how to, learning like the ins and outs, like learning how to fire, learning how to load a kiln, learning how to unload a kiln. And so Seb was extremely like into that. And so I gave Seb tons of things that I normally wouldn't give other people, like Ray, when they were working for me, they kind of scatterbrained and but great, like super great with customers, and didn't necessarily want to learn the ins and the outs of pottery, but wanted to help in like glazing, and was super good with cleaning and like, like certain things. And they were like, I just want to be here. Like that was their goal. They're just like, I just want to be here and I want to help and I want to, but Seb's was a totally different goal. And so, catering to what that is, because finding whatever they want to do is really important to their productivity, and and if they don't want to learn, that's okay, but then you can give them the stuff that's like, weigh 500 balls of clay,
Yeah. I think the thing I would change about the next person that I would hire would be those kind of questions of, because in the, like, thinking back to it as you're talking about this, thinking back to how I met with him the first time, it was me telling you what I need you to do for me, and saying, are you fine with that? Do you have any questions for me? Versus, these are the things that I could use your help with. What sounds the most interesting to you? Yeah. But also, like, if I ask them, like, what are you hoping to get out of this? And I said money or the other thing, like, they feel like they're not going to get the job if they say money, right? So they can't say that answer necessarily.
Well, you can say it open-endedly, like, what's your goal?
Yeah.
Like, what's your, like, yeah, it's pretty easy to figure out what their goal is if they start talking.
That might be a good starting point, actually, versus talking about all the stuff I need done, like rattling off a job description and saying, can you do this? Right.
Yeah, like, what is, like, do you want to go into ceramics in the future? Do you, is this something that appeals to you? Yeah, because that's not necessarily necessary, but it can be helpful, and it also can kind of like change your ways of how you're leading them into what job they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something you won't necessarily know how they're going to do with certain tasks. They could say that they're really interested in learning the loading kilns and stuff, but until you give them the task or kind of shadow them a little bit and see how they do, you can determine, like, is it something that I can have them do, or is it there other things that I would prefer them to do?
Right.
That either I think they do better for me, or like sprinkle in a little bit different things and see how they do at it. For me, I'm working during the day while they're here. I'm working my full-time job, and they're here in the studio while I'm doing my job. and they'll let me know if they have any questions. So they're working independently. I have to rely on them to do, like, take little direction of, here's what I want you to do, kind of follow a whiteboard of tasks.
Yeah.
Kind of do that quick 10 minutes with them before they get started, like when they get here. Hey, how's it going? Here's what I need done today. Here's everything ready to go. Here's the bags of clay ready. Here's, all the pots that need to be waxed or whatever. They're not like randomly grabbing things, and I'm not just putting like glaze 30 shot glasses and not having it grouped and like on a board for them ready to go.
Right.
So
do you create
that's
a list
usually
for
how
them?
I handle it. What's that?
Do you like create a list for them? I always had to create.
Yeah.
I always did a list.
Yeah, I just have a whiteboard with a list of things I want to get done. And normally I'll tell them beforehand too, like when I text them that week, I'll say, yeah, I need some help with clay prep, just to get them in the right mindset so that they're kind of ready for it. Or I need some stuff glazed, or glaze mixing, can you bring your respirator? And stuff like that, just to get them in the right frame of mind so that when they get there, they know what to expect, and I'm not throwing something on them that they're not feeling like they want to do today.
Yeah.
Or if they say, like, hey, I can't do an entire 3 hours of clay prep, like, can we try some, like, can you give me something else too?
Yeah. I love having, God, I think it's so much fun, especially when you're like teaching, like in a way, like those things that they're doing is so educational for somebody who wants to eventually do something at pottery. And it's such good work, like just to do that crap, like do the stuff that we don't want to do, but also the stuff that we've done for such a long time that that like taught us so much. Like, I don't know. Like,
and I'm sure there's some things that I don't know that they're learning just from being in the studio, even though I'm not physically in the studio with them.
Right.
And like educating them and talking them through something. Like maybe they've weighed clay before. Like they're probably not learning much. They're learning how to be more efficient at it if they do it. If they have to weigh, they've done, 60 buckets for me over time. Like they know the most efficient way to do it. They know the best way to cut the clay so that they can get it into the weight, and they kind of know that. But, are there other things that they're learning just from being in the studio that they see around them?
Right.
Or are they just focused on their task? And
now, do you, here's a good question. Do you let them work in your studio at all? Like, do they have their own studios? What's your deal with that? Like, if they ever wanted to fire anything in your kiln, like, would you let them?
They have not, so that would probably be more toward a work for trade kind of thing. I thought about that at one point, but I was kind of on the fence about it because I'm pretty particular with my studio and like where things are. Yeah. And I feel like if I offered up, I have an extra wheel, like you can come and work in here. I feel like I just didn't want to give out my space on off times that were not scheduled to when I expected them to be there.
Right.
Plus, it's my home, and it's like
right. And you have a very small studio. It's not like don't
it's not
get
a
it wrong.
huge studio.
Yeah, he's got like a maybe 200 square foot studio.
Yeah, I think it's 20 by 30 maybe or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was smaller.
No, it's big. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Yeah. Okay. I had a space that was obviously not my home, so trading time for things was something that we did a lot. Seb always traded.
Yeah, you have plenty of shelf to go around, and you have plenty of wheels to go around, and table space that having an extra person in there is not taking any space away from you.
Yeah, all of my employees have done pottery in the studio while they were working, and yes, but that's also a little bit different because they were watching.
So they're kind of like pseudo members because they worked for you.
Yeah, and I've paid them as well most of the time. But let's get into payment.
Yeah.
And if I recall, this year you're going to start paying your employees like real employees.
I've paid in cash, so. Yeah, that's what you're beating around the bush about.
Yes. I don't want to say that on the podcast without you saying it. Okay, so what I will say, because there was a question alluding to how do you do this legally? I have paid employees legally, and I've also not. But since I've had the shop, I've always paid them legally, and there's a lot to be done, and it kind of sucks to have employees. I'm not gonna lie, it really does. I don't know if it's like this in any other state. Washington, you got to go through a lot of things, and you have to pay. You have to pay family medical paid leave, which is like 2 cents.
What do you have to do to get set up? Is there a payment fee to just have a payroll system?
So you gotta
set up fee, were you already paying yourself through that?
No, I never paid myself through. Like, you gotta set up with L&I. You gotta set up with the employment, like Washington State employees stuff. Like if we're doing it in Washington. So I did it the really hard way, and I used to do my employee taxes all like I literally have a tab on my web browser that says employment taxes, because I used to do it quarterly. It's really, really hard to get everything right when you're paying your employees, because there's a lot of different things that you have to do. You have to pay L&I, you have to pay like family medical leave.
L&I?
Labor and industry. That's like the insurance part, where somebody asked about insurance. Like if somebody gets hurt on the job, L&I is what covers that. God forbid they get hurt. Also, make sure you buy your employees a respirator, because you don't want to be that person. But yeah, so L&I paid family medical leave. Let's see if I even have it up here. Payroll. And you're gonna need to do a 941 usually, and that's a federal government tax form.
Is that different than a W-2?
Yes, you need to have them fill out a W-2. There's a lot of different, a W-4. There's a lot of different things. So the easiest thing, honestly, after...
Sorry, the W-2 is what you get at the end of the year. Yeah, W-4 is what I was thinking of.
W-4 is what you do. You can, in some states, you can pay them as... you can pay them on contract. Which is 1099. I would recommend, if you can do that in your state without them having a business license, that's the way to go. But in Washington State, they have to have a business license if you pay them by contract. So it doesn't work out for a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old, But if you are going to pay them regularly, like weekly on payroll, I know this sounds ridiculous, but even with one employee, when I started paying them with Square Payroll and like using a payroll service, it made my life so much easier. Like, instead of going and having to figure out how to pay my taxes every month, I paid $30, $30 a month for them to pay everything and to do everything for me. Like, Square Payroll just literally, it gets all of your information, it gets all of your employees' information, and it just does it itself. Like, it just files all of the forms for you. And I did it for 2 years by myself and like trying to figure it out every quarter. And it was...
As in they take all the taxes, set them aside, and pay the person out after taxes, and then Square sends off the taxes to the right people
and fills
based on
out
your state.
Yep, and fills out all the forms that you're supposed to fill out, and like based on your state, and they just take all of your information right at the beginning, and then they input it all. You can do, an accountant can do it too. There's no services that really do it for anything less than like $30 a month. But
did you do that? Like, does that still need to communicate with your business somehow? Or you could start it fresh. Like, I could start fresh in Square Payroll and do everything I need to do, get all the forms done. There's not any extra state forms I need to do.
No, I don't think so. You might have to sign up for an L&I account.
Okay.
But this is like a quick Google search too. Like you have to figure out what your state needs for tax, like for paying employees. So that's like a quick like, hey, what do I do when I need to hire an employee in Connecticut? You know, but yeah, I've like I said, I paid my employee and did it myself and filled out all the forms and the 941s and incorrectly filled them out for 2 years. And then finally, like the last 3 months, I started using Square and I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. And then COVID hit. And then COVID hit.
Just like a lot of statements in. And then COVID hit.
And then COVID hit. And then Reagan started working for the grocery store down the street. So, but yeah, I would, I highly recommend looking into that. It's one of those, I really don't want to pay this money, but it really does save you a lot of time and it does save you a lot of headaches.
So how did you figure out you did it wrong? Was it you get to the end of the year and you owe money because it was done wrong?
No, sometimes they gave me money. One time they were like, "You paid us way too much." I was like, "Oops."
Oh, like you took too much out for the employee.
Yeah,
and then
and I had like a spreadsheet that calculated all the information, and then I took it to the one of my friend's accountant who was a regular at the bar next door. My friend's accountant who was a regular at the bar next door, I would go over and I'd be like, hey Deb, did I do this right? And she was like, no. So yeah, that's how I learned I did it wrong.
Yeah, I think going forward, like you said, this year, I think going forward, it would be something that I would need to make sure that it's done in preparation for them starting work. I wouldn't want to start them paying cash and then I enforce all this stuff and we add all this stuff to it and then they start making less money.
Yeah.
Because we're formalizing it. That's kind of the sticking point for me, where it was like also the complexity, but because they're getting less money in pocket, but I can see the documentation's better. It is legal, so it's you do it the right way. And if you're going to be growing and you're going to need that help down the road, you're setting yourself up for the future of doing it right for the long term.
Yeah, but if you can do it 1099, do it 1099. That's really the key. If you can,
I think that seemed pretty simple because when I actually get 1099 from some of the galleries that I sell at.
Yeah.
Like if I sell more than $600, like they'll send me a 1099. But some of them don't.
No, yeah, but they're supposed to. Not a lot of people know that. But they are. If you
so I had some 1099s last year, but it seemed pretty easy because I did fill out a W-4 for them. Mm-hmm. And then it was 1099 is what I got at the end of the year. So it's pretty sweet. Like if that's all it. So if it's 1099,
you don't need to fill out a W-4 if you get 1099. You fill out a 1099 form.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, you just basically
they sent it to me when
name.
I started consigning there.
Yeah, but like I said, some states require you to have a business license if you're going to get paid via a 1099. So make sure that that's not the case in your state. Like Indiana, apparently you can get paid as a 1099 no matter what. So.
Yeah, typically the 1099 stuff is usually like contract work, like you said, where it's something that you're coming in doing a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But
make sure you tell your person that you're going to hire that especially if they're young, please tell them that they need to save 35%, because that's the amount of money that will be taken out, because you're paying them fully. You're paying them like you're paying them in cash. But then at the end of the year, you're going to say, I paid them this much money, and then they'll have to put it into their taxes, and that money will be taken out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Such a bummer. Fucking taxes.
Yeah. But I'm meeting with a person I think next month from the place that I get my taxes done to talk about the small business things and things to improve on, and that'll be a topic I bring up with them to figure that out.
Yeah.
It's
what else? What else? What else is there on those questions? Do we?
There's a thing about insurance considerations for doing it within a residence.
Oh, talk to your insurance company. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I think that would have to be some business liability insurance. It could, I mean, it's probably similar to if you're going to a show and shit happens at a show and your tent shatters a bunch of stuff, or it shatters your neighbor's stuff and there's a bunch of stuff that happens. I don't know about the whole like physical thing, like if you physically get hurt, because I think that could be what they're talking about, having it within a residence.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like that's like legal stuff that I feel like if we say anything about, like,
Yeah, that needs to be talk with your insurance person.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about having somebody, that's actually one thing that I'll probably talk, because I'm getting the business insurance stuff figured out right now. Because historically, I've got the show insurance when I need it, but I haven't had full on all year like show insurance and liability insurance and all that stuff. So
yeah. Shit, I need to cancel my business insurance. Anyway, yeah, insurance is really weird, and you really have, like, it's just, but, you know, you probably have to talk to, like, you probably have to do get an L&I account if you have employees or something like that, so.
yeah, this needs to be talk with the person that you do your taxes with that knows about small business and knows about, like, hiring employees, and then the insurance part. The insurance part is going to have to do with your insurance company, but
Yeah.
asking them the right questions. I think the hard part is figuring out the questions to ask. Of like,
Yeah.
like this is what I'm thinking. Do I need something?
Right.
Some of it's like showing your cards a little bit, and it's showing that like you're doing stuff that's not like. And then they know if you have a policy or not, because like, you know.
Well, you can always call some. I'm like, how many times have I called the Department of Revenue on my friend's cell phone and asked a question? Like, hi, I'm just wondering, like, do I need to do an inventory of all the stuff in my business if we haven't done it, and I've been doing this for 3 years? Oh, I do? Okay, thanks. And then I hang up, and then I never do that. And then I sell the business and I leave. No, we did. But yeah, you're always welcome to call somebody on a different phone line at a different company and ask those questions without telling them your name. That's a perfectly normal thing to do.
Yeah, the last part of the question, I guess, was, yeah, we already kind of touched on it, but like, what tips do you have for making that partnership successful? Did you ever have ongoing like check-ins with them, or like, you know, how did you? I typically did not. Like, I could have done better at that. I was, you know, I kind of saw how they did, if they did it well or if they didn't, and like I might give them different tasks and not give them those tasks again, rather than like the conflict of saying, hey, this happened, and like ongoingly figuring out like how can we improve this.
Yeah. My suggestion is this. Before you get into a conflict, before you even start, I would recommend setting a boundary and setting a timeline for when you will check up and meet up and talk about what's going well and what's not going well. So when you hire somebody, say, hey, in a couple months, let's have a review. Let's set the date now. And then
It's a good idea.
we can talk about what's working for you, what's working for me, what we're struggling with, what we're not struggling with. And then that way in 2 months, when they're doing something that's bugging the shit out of you, it's not like, hey, let's
It's
talk
not like
about,
you're bringing it up because of this.
yeah, like,
it's,
hey,
we had
let's
this on the
talk
calendar,
about
we're
this
gonna
on
talk
Sunday. No, it's like, hey, we planned on talking about whatever is going on within this realm and what can work for you and what can work for me and what we're struggling with. And being really open and honest, but also remember that you're not you are the authority figure in that scenario. So not like you don't have to be super duper like suck up, like you don't have to suck up to your employees necessarily. Like you can say, hey, this is wrong. like I need you to do it this way.
If it's not meeting your satisfaction.
But that way that kind of like sets that standard at the beginning, saying like, hey, we're gonna have this meeting in 2 months, and we can talk about what's happening. Because like I've had an employee that had autism, and checking in with her every week, every couple weeks, just to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, what was hard for you this week? What wasn't hard for you this week? Like, what did you enjoy doing? What was, that I found that out a little, not too late, but like, it was something we had to work on because she would get really overwhelmed. And, and so it was so much easier to be like, hey, how was today? Like, like just checking in and like, having an open conversation about like, hey, it's okay that you have, you're not good at some things. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I would say is the best thing that I've found is and also to just be like, hey, when I did this for the first time, I sucked at it. Like it's hard and it takes time, but and sometimes you have to do things that you don't like, blah, blah, blah. That's obviously working with somebody that's a little bit younger, but yeah, just checking in and being as open and honest about things as possible is great. And because the most important thing, I think, is for them to be able to tell you that they're not doing something well because of, like, they're not comfortable with something. Because if your employee, or if your employee is doing something and they're not doing it well because they're frustrated about something, but they're scared to tell you, that's a problem. So,
yeah.
Because most of the time, most of us, if somebody came to us and be like, I can't do this because this is like really frustrating to me for this reason, we'd be like, oh, let's figure out how to fix it, but a lot of people are too scared to ask, to tell you that,
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's really hard.
I think that checking in is like that 3-month thing is genius. That's a perfect thing to do.
I also
no matter what age group they are. Like,
oh yeah,
checking in with somebody just at a there's no emotion to like when you're doing it and like reacting to something.
Yeah.
It's just setting it. And
it's not threatening.
It's on there.
It's not threatening.
It's not like, hey, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Before we start today, or can you get here 30 minutes early? Like, don't.
I also
like, then that puts them on their toes.
Yeah, I also told I was talking to a friend who was sharing a kiln with somebody recently, and he was like, it's new and I don't know what to expect, and like this is happening, and I don't know how the sharing's going, and I was like, you should just say hey. And I told him the same thing. I was like, say, hey, can we just check in a month? Because it was brand new. He's like, can we just check in a month and talk about how things are going? And he's like, that's so smart. And I'm like, it's so helpful to just put that date on a calendar, and because then you both know it's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I'm actually writing, people can't see, but I'm writing notes on a couple different things that I want to take away personally, just from talking with you about it.
I know.
So that's something that I get out of this discussion.
Ryan's never been this distracted during one of our podcasts. It's usually me. Yeah. God, I really enjoyed having employees, but it also is like such a learning experience. I've had a lot of different employees.
Yeah.
And like, a lot. Also, I would recommend, if they are really getting into doing like pottery and stuff, and like they don't have a wheel or something like that, and they've been with you for a while, I would recommend buying them some, or like chipping in to get them something that's pottery related at the end of the year, like as a bonus. I've bought employees wheels before, like like the Aspire wheels, like as kind of like a bonus. And it's just, if you have the extra money and you can do it, it's having anybody as an employee in a creative industry is such a fun thing, because it's one of those industries that like they can use for the rest of their life. And it's not like working in a grocery store, like that you can use for the rest of your life too. But this is like, like I could, if I have an employee that's doing pottery and like, got interested in pottery because they started working for me, I want to like encourage that,
Yeah.
And we have every capability of encouraging that. So, yes.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm figuring out the way of how I want to get my next person, because, like I said, one of them went on to a new job, and then the other is trying to get another job that's full-time outside of what their other job is. And the timing is going to be weird. So I'm trying to figure out whether I should either go to the community studio route and talk to somebody that I know there and see if they have somebody they would recommend, or if I should put it out in like a formal way of like a Google form, and they fill out a form.
Yeah.
And I put it out publicly.
Like on Craigslist.
But then I'm like interviewing, and I've got to like filter through and spend time. But it could be, I could get a better person if I go through more that, because I've talked to 3 people. I've hired 3 people like that. Like that's it. So
yeah,
I mean, changing up the way that I'm doing things, or understanding like what I really would like help with versus what, what their skill set is, or stuff like that. It doesn't have to be formality of like, give me your resume, but like answer a few questions and we can chat and like meet up.
Yeah. Ooh, you know what we didn't touch on? Payment, like paying, like cost, how much you should pay them.
Sure.
Don't pay them the federal minimum wage. That's all I have to say.
No.
That's not all I have to say, but like, please pay them well for what they're doing.
Yeah. Do you want me to say what I pay them?
Sure, why not?
Okay. All right. So my first assistant started out $10 an hour, and then
he lives in
I
Kentucky.
actually think
he
in
lives
Kentucky.
in Kentucky. Okay.
Kentucky. Yeah. And then I actually think they asked for a raise, and then I started paying them $12 an hour.
Okay.
And then my assistants that I've had since then have been $12 an hour.
Cool.
And the minimum wage is like $7.30 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think we looked it up.
It's ridiculous.
This weekend. I think it was $7 and some change. But yeah. I
cannot believe it's that low. Like,
plus when you think about states that are like cost of living is so high, how is $7 still?
In 2008, I was getting paid $7.05, and that was the minimum. Wait, like it has gone up 30 cents in like 20 years. I'm trying to see.
I think it's different state to state though, too. Like some states have a higher state minimum wage, so you can't actually go down to the federal if you wanted to, because the state is higher.
Yeah. I paid my employees. The last one I paid $12. No, wait. The Cura I paid $12 an hour. I think that state, if I was in Washington, it'd be $15 now. Because
You just changed it, right?
Yeah. So something that somebody told me a while ago was, like, we don't have a ton of money. Understandable. But if you are hiring somebody like as an assistant or even an employee, like semi part-time employee, it's, if you can't pay them super well, compensate them in other ways. You know, like if you can only pay them $10 an hour, $12 an hour, buy snacks. Like say, hey, there's a fridge down there. If you need snacks, there's snacks. If you want pop, there's pop. You know, like,
or buy them a wheel at the end of the year.
Or buy them a wheel at the end of the year.
Like, I don't know.
No, but like, you don't have to. Obviously, I've done that, but that was just like, it was a moment. But like,
that was kind of like a bonus. It wasn't like I am making up for it by giving you a wheel.
Yeah, no. And like, you know, these like $12 an hour is a lot more than a lot of people are getting paid for this type of stuff. But I think Ray was making like 14 or 15. But yeah, like give your assistant snacks, like just that. It's like make them want to come and like help you, you know. Hey, there's goldfish and like like Coke in the fridge. Coca-Cola. I don't know. Or they can just be happy to be there too, but still. Make yourself the boss that they'll never forget.
Good one. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of things of pieces that I see that could definitely be improved, and it's it's something where I think of it as fitting time into my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Of, okay, I need to text them so that they can come by and figure out when they can come by. Totally flexible to them whenever they want to come by, as long as it's during the day, pretty much. That way I can focus on what I need to focus on in the studio if I'm in there, because I can't generally focus on studio stuff if somebody else is in the studio with me. Which is something I know about myself.
Yeah. Me too.
And then, like, talking, just openly communicating with them about what's going well, what's not, and rather than just avoiding giving them tasks that I don't see them doing as well as I would like, and giving them other tasks, like having the conversation, even though it might be difficult, is a better option.
Yeah.
Because there could be a reason why they're, they could have had some like back strain or something the last couple of days, and they just can't wedge out a lot of stuff as efficiently, or they just weren't feeling it that day, or they'd never done it before and they didn't feel like they could ask questions about, like, can you show me what you expect? And then I do it, rather than just talking them through something that you think is kind of obvious. Mm-hmm. And, also, if they've said they've done it before, showing them the way that you prefer it to be done.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Is an easier way for them to, like, understand what you expect from them. I think some of the reluctance to talk about things that I could see, like, done faster or whatever, is, like, for me to feel like I'm imposing, you need to work faster because it's not fast enough for me, is kind of what my brain goes to, of, like, I don't want to push somebody to do something faster because I feel like I'm overworking them, but I don't also know their potential of, like, what could they do in a reasonable amount of time.
Right. Oh, yeah, we talked about this weekend, right? The because you were kind of like talking about that, and I said the way that Rebecca does piece rate for us for the work is that she does it, and however long it takes her to do it, that's the price of the piece. So she
what do you mean the price? How does she know the price?
Well, she like breaks it down, like for time and stuff. But like,
so she has like a price per hour, hourly rate, and then
she has
6 minutes to throw something is $1.50 or $2 or whatever.
Well, it's a lot more than that,
so,
but yes,
you know what I mean.
Like for 6 minutes, but yes, yeah, it price per whatever. But what's cool is that when you're showing somebody how to do something, it's always good to be like, this is the amount of time that I would do this in. I don't expect you to do it this fast, but I'm showing you how long this will take me so that you can see why, like, what time frame this takes me, like, and it may be something for you to strive towards as a goal, because you know, like, time is money, but also like, so and like maybe pricing tasks out per like pricing per task as opposed to per time is better. But also, you know, it's important to show your employees, like, this is how long it would take me. Like, it's fine that it takes you less time, but I want to show you how long, like, what is possible within the time frame. I realize that I've been doing this for 10 years and you're not going to be here. You're not going to be at this level. But, you know, and then having that real discussion of, like, if you're doing it too slow, let's talk about why, and let's talk about how you can fix that. You know, don't expect them.
So why would you not just piecemeal everything?
I mean, you could. It depends on the person.
Because then
really
there's
depends on the person.
Then there's no incentive to do it faster, I guess, if you piecemeal everything, right?
Well, it depends on the person, Ryan. Like,
well, actually, I guess it would incentivize you to do it faster because you could do more in a shorter period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
So, like, if you're having somebody handle mugs, you should be paying them per handle, in my opinion. Like, when I was having...
Because you want a quality handle.
Yeah.
That's not rushed.
Yeah, but also, like, no. If I wanted a quality handle that wasn't rushed, I'd pay him per hour. But if I want a quantity handle, but after a while, that quantity is going to be good, right? Like, what I should have done back in the day when I was having people do garden stakes, because I was having Kira make all the garden stakes for me, is I should have paid her per garden stake, like, during doing that, just because it puts a sense of urgency into you, but it also teaches you about time management and about efficiency. But also there's some people that have that work ethic just ingrained in them. Like, you are one of those people. I am one of those people. If somebody pays me per hour, I'm going to work really hard while I'm being paid per hour. Some people aren't like that. You do have to, like, approach it at a very specific, like, everybody's different, you know? Like, some people will benefit from that and some people don't. Some people work their ass off if you get them a good hourly wage, and some people don't. Like, and that's, you just have to kind of, like, approach that case per case basis. But like we had said about weighing clay, like, if it, if it's not as much about money, but, like, is your time, like, you can even ask, like, I can either pay you $10 an hour, or I can give you $10 per bucket of clay, or whatever, like, and that's not right, because it would not take you an hour to weigh out a bucket, but, like, price it out, right? And you can give them that option too.
Or it could take you an hour to weigh out a bucket.
Yeah, it could.
I mean, if you're weighing out half-pound balls.
Yeah.
Into a 5-gallon bucket, it could take you an hour. I don't know.
It could, but, like, make sure you do the research before you offer that up. But, like, there are other ways to, like, kind of, like, give people, money and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, I think it's important to, after all that, I think it's important to show how fast you would do it, but also make it a point to say, like, I don't expect you to do it this fast. However, I expect you to strive for that,
Yeah. I'm curious if doing the bucket thing, because some days, like, all they do are weigh clay for me. So,
yeah.
Like, is that worth figuring out? Is it worth doing it per bucket?
Well, I mean, it's up to you, because they might get fast enough that they might get faster than you. And then you're paying them a shit ton of money for buckets of clay, but then you'll have the clay, so it doesn't matter.
But it's based on how much I need thrown, right? Or how much I can keep up with throwing as well. So it's not like, okay, I'm just going to weigh out, 4 buckets or 4 buckets here. No, it's like, I need 2 buckets.
Yeah, but then...
Because I know that I'm,
Yeah, but then,
I know what I'm giving them.
Yeah, but then you can't, like, give them a little bit of work and, like... You're like, oh,
No, I mean, I would have enough work that they would have at least 2 hours worth of time to be there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not giving somebody less than 2 hours of work to come to the studio.
Yeah. I think that if
I would
I
let
was...
them know, like, hey, we're skipping this week because I have other priorities.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that if I had an assistant for doing the stuff that you had, that you have your assistants doing them, I think that I would probably pay them per. Yeah. Because, like, in the past, I've paid them hourly because they were watching the shop. You know? I think that I might have them be paid per task. Just because I think that
Paid
that's
differently
how.
or paid piecemeal per task?
Like, piece rate, you know? Piece rate or, yeah, like. Yeah, because I think that that's how I would want to be paid. You know?
Because then you know exactly what, I mean.
Yeah, then you know exactly what you're getting into. Like, I would want, yeah, if I was going into an assistant job, it would be very, it would be attractive to me if somebody said, hey, I'm going to pay you per piece. These are the things that I need done. You can stay as long as you want. Or as little as you want, you know? Like,
Yeah.
well, probably not as little as you want, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need,
As long as you get it done.
yeah, I need 3 buckets of clay. I need 12 pieces glazed. I need this, and everything that you have is a certain cost, you know? And they just mark it off as they go. I think that that would be really attractive to me as an individual. So, I mean, like, that's just a discussion that I think that maybe you would have, like, what gives you more, like, what motivates you more.
And something cool is I've actually historically kept notes every single day that they're there, so I know how much they're getting paid. And then I actually wrote notes about, like, what they got done, so that it just jogged my brain of how much time it took and, like, what I got them to do historically.
Yeah.
So I can kind of know. So, like, that gives me a lot of good data to go off of to gauge, like, what has somebody else done historically when they've weighed out 2 buckets of clay? How long did that take them?
Yeah, it would be interesting to ask your your assistants right now and see if that would be an attractive thing for them or not. You should ask them this week and then get back to us.
Well, it's just one.
You should ask her.
I don't need them this week, but
just like, also I was going to ask you, do you use a Trello with your assistants? Because I feel like that would be a good system.
No, it sounds like a good system, but for me, I don't have. It's just another thing.
Another thing.
It sounds good. It would be another thing that would help with payment.
Yeah.
Like you're talking piecemeal, because that's kind of what you all do at Graves Co. But I really just pull stuff up the day before, or, you know, I decide the week of, like, am I going to need them? And then I usually figure out what they're going to need to do the day before.
Yeah.
And I just write it on a whiteboard in my studio so that when I get there, I can show them the list.
Yeah. I used to do a list with check boxes for Reagan. This is what I need you to do.
Yeah.
You have to check them off.
Yeah. Or usually, like, for me, they'll erase them as they get them done. But yeah, I think the piecemeal thing, you have to do some research before and know what's reasonable.
Yeah.
I feel like no other, like, are there other things like that you get paid piecemeal for? I feel like I don't know any other job like that you're getting paid.
Ryan, piece
rate, whatever.
Rate, not piecemeal.
I keep saying piecemeal. Sorry. I'm trying to think of what piecemeal applies to.
Rebecca just walked in, and we're both cracking up right now. Piecemeal and piece rate are very different. I let it slide for a little bit. Anyway,
Whatever.
I get paid hourly for trimming and piece rate.
I'm talking about other industries. Are there any other industries that you get paid piece rate? Like, what's a similar kind of job?
Yeah, a lot of manufacturing.
A lot of manufacturing industries is what she says. So, yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. Like, and I would imagine, like, putting anything really together, doing stuff like that. Yeah, because it's like, I definitely wouldn't, I would pay somebody hourly for weighing out clay. Like, not weighing out, pugging clay, I feel like, because that's based a lot on the machine. But, but yeah. No, I don't know.
It's interesting. It's a good It's a good
Yeah.
experiment. I wonder if it could even be like a trial run. Like, is that like a trial to start with? Or like worth trying it for like a couple weeks and seeing like if they like mind. I mean, you would have to know the information beforehand to know how to
It takes a lot of research on the back end, you know? Like if you're going to start charging
front end.
piece rate, and that also opens up the conversation for if you want somebody to throw pieces for you, essentially, you know, or handle pieces for you, because like then you don't have to, you know, then you are getting what you essentially pay for, you know. It teaches good work ethic as well, but and like I go to work and I'm sometimes there for like 8 hours, but I like to be there. Like I like to be at work and I'm still getting paid piece rate. And sometimes like when I started doing work, like when I started working at Rebecca's, people were like, oh, well, how long are you there? And I was like, you know, like 6 to 8 hours. And they're like, well, how much do you get paid per day? And I was like, you know, it's like, it could be like $120 or it could be $230. Like today I made $230 and I was there for 8 hours. How long did I work while I was there? Nobody knows, but it wasn't 8 hours because I am a distracted motherfucker and I don't get a lot done. But, so like, but like when I'm trimming on the days that I'm trimming and I'm paid per hour, I work the whole day and I don't get distracted because that's the kind of person that I am. So, you know, that's like the difference, right? So, but you have to do a lot of research on the back end of how much your pieces are worth.
I keep saying the back end, it's the front end, the
No, it's the
beginning
back
part
end.
before you tell them.
No, but it's like the back door.
I think it's the front end because it's before
it's like
you
the
even
back of
tell
house.
them
It's
anything.
like the back of house.
Front.
It's like behind the scenes.
I think of time-wise, it's the front end. It's before you start. It's like the very front.
I don't think so.
That's the way I think of it, but
I don't know. Anyway, behind the scenes, you have to do a lot of research and a lot of prep to see how long it would take you to do it and how much money is invested into that product, like how much profit you have in that product and how much, you know, like so like you really have to do the math at the very beginning to like at the front end to see how like how that piece or how the process breaks down. So if you don't want to do the math, just pay them per hour.
yeah. And I kind of got to the I had some delineations of like things I wouldn't do, like the whole throwing. Like I'm not gonna have them throw for me, not that I know of, not in my. I have had them like use a rib and like clean the bottoms of some pieces.
Yeah.
To like, you know, like a shear form sort of thing, but like metal rib the bottom or run your thumb over the bottom just to get them like spoon rests flipped over and cleaned, and then all I gotta do is sign them. But yeah, slowly adding those tasks on top of each other and like seeing how they do. And yeah, I think talking with them is the best takeaway I've had. Figuring out how to improve over time.
Yeah. Don't be too soft either. Don't be too nice. I was like that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Don't be too nice.
Yeah, that's me.
I was like, oh, I didn't get this done.
Conflict avoidance.
It's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. I'm fucked.
But also the personalities of the assistants I've had have been reluctant to say, like, I can see them being reluctant to say anything, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
But I'm also that way. So, like, both of us being reluctant, we're not going to bring something up if it's awkward, you know?
Yeah. I agree. I don't think we have anything else to say.
I don't think we do either. We're under 2 hours like you wanted.
We are.
We're pushing it.
All right. Do you have any last words?
All right. Thanks for those questions, Liz and Haley.
Hopefully it wasn't too random.
Gosh, I think I said it wrong. I think it's Hallie. Hallie's comment. Her name is after Halley's Comet. Is it Halley's Comet?
It's Haley's comment.
Haley? Okay, Haley.
It wouldn't be the
Liz.
first name we butchered on this podcast.
All right.
Remember to leave
yeah,
us a review and send us a picture of your review.
Yes, and we need your shipping address so we can mail you a sticker.
I bought a whole book of stamps earlier this year, so I have a ton. And they're already unrolled, and I don't want to roll them back up again, so let's get on that.
Nice. You got a roll of stamps, so you got like 100 stamps?
It's called a book, isn't it?
No, the book is 20.
Oh, then I got to roll.
I worked at Kroger. I did retail. I want a book of stamps. There's 20 in there.
I was trying to support the United States Postal Service.
Oh, okay. The whole buy stamps to support the
Yeah.
USPS. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Yep, that's all we got.
All right.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate it, and we're having so much fun. If you want to follow us individually on Instagram, you totally can. Ryan's Instagram handle is @RDCeramics, and mine is 5 Lines Pottery. That's the number 5. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to write us a review on our podcast. We read every single one of them, and we totally appreciate them. They help us out an awful lot, and they also put smiles on our faces. I hope you guys continue to listen, and we love you. Thanks. Bye.